Hello, dear ones. Hi, welcome to the Indigo Rose Lounge. I'm your host, Alyce Dylan. Here is a loving space. This whole space loves you. It does. Indigos, ESPs, HSPs, however you identify, whatever label you like. I know the ADHD one has become popular. You are all spiritually perceptive, beautiful souls, and I adore you. Every single one of you. I've had occasion recently to delve more into the sciencey stuff, the whole diagnosis of the neurodivergence and the ADHD, and this still fascinates me because you look at the last 200 years, which is really the amplify stage of us. The energy shifted about 200 years ago, and we have been emerging en masse over the last 200 years. And so, when you look at how this all unfolded, lays out some real questions. Now, okay, this is within the context of post pandemic, so the white coats have lost their authority over the science world or the health world. For many of us, I'd rather go to a sangoma than a white coat at this moment. That's just me because my level of distrust is all the way down there. And I'm disclosing this so that you can temper my words if you like. I have a known bias. My bias is out here. So I don't see us, the indigos, the neurodivergent, if you like, I don't see us as something to be healed. By the very label, we are neurodivergent to what? The normals say, oh, your brains work differently. They don't work the same as ours, so therefore you're over there in that basket. We're going to carry on with society. We're going to carry on messing things up, but you guys go over there. And if you put it all together, if you draw all the pieces together, it seems very clear to me that we haven't coincidentally emerged. We've emerged at a time when the world needs us to be the way we are. Humanity has evolved at this time. And so let's go back to the World War II scenario where the Nazis were fascinated by the occult, and so they found all the Romanies and they found a lot of obviously Jewish people. We know that story. But anyone who was in any way different, perceptive, etc., they assembled them all and tested them and tested. They had lots of tests going on, trying to figure out what made these brains different. How were people able to do clairvoyance, psychometry? You can go down this rabbit hole and you can see they were doing a lot of testing on extrasensory perception, on how did people know what they knew. And one of the things they discovered was that fluoride dulls the extrasensory perception. That also, go do your research on this, don't take my word for it. Fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. The pineal gland is the organ of the body that has the highest frequency. So as in this human experience, we're living between a large scale of frequencies. Our physical body, parts of our physical body are really dense and therefore really low frequency. But we have the ability to perceive and hear and feel right up to high frequencies. So we have this band of experience that we are living within, from low frequency over there to really high frequency. And that whole range is within our perception. And then, of course, the indigos, the spiritually perceptive, we reach past the highest range of a five-sensed because we're connected with our spirit selves. And so our perception range is even higher, even longer than that. So here's World War II. There's some funky stuff going on. Who even knows the story anymore? Do we even trust what the history books say? I don't know. But these records I have seen about, not physically, obviously, the scanned versions, I've seen the records of the testing done and what they were looking for. And you could say maybe they were looking for advantage to give to their troops or to their soldiers. So if they had found a magic button that they could push to make individuals be able to know what was around the next corner, that might have been an advantage. Whatever it is, why'ever they did it, maybe maybe it was just a pet project, but they really studied us a huge amount, discovered that fluoride is the thing that shuts us down. So if you want to, fluoride poisoning would in fact make any sixth sensed or extrasensory person a five-sensed being again. Here's another thought. Maybe they knew about the convergences that had happened 200 years ago. Maybe they knew that out of that would come people of other abilities, and maybe that threatened their plans for world domination. And so they were studying it from that perspective. Who knows? But they discovered that fluoride interferes with the extrasensory perception. Within 5 years of the end of that war, across the world, fluoride was added to the municipal waters of the entire globe. Think about this. This is not the 1940s. This is not in present day when you can hop on a plane or pick up a cell phone. This is the 1940s. And somehow the fluoride, which is a waste product created by aluminium smelting, fluoride was suddenly added to the waters of the world within 5 years of the end of World War II. Just sit with that for a moment. Back in the day, how was that? And now the Nazis had been defeated, right? And we know about Operation Paperclip and that those scientists went to either Argentina or the US, wherever. So they took that knowledge with them, but it was important enough to someone to add fluoride to the waters of the entire globe. Even countries that you would never think of, countries that were just happily going along, doing their own thing. No, they put fluoride there too. So you have to wonder why this suddenly became a priority. And then there were a couple of years where you had the Indigo Child, that section of research and all of that done. And then you had all these books come out kind of at the end of the hippie era, looking at extrasensory perception, exploring what this was. And then suddenly two pictures emerge. In one picture, we are all assigned to almost the dustbin of neurodivergence by a bunch of people funded by Big Pharma. So now suddenly going from indigo children, extrasensory perception to neurodivergent, and you need to be medicated. But on the other hand, the intelligence services and think tank people of the world are actively seeking out the same set of neurodivergent people to employ and to come in and do remote viewing and come in and do all sorts of other things. So it's almost like, well, look, if you're developed enough and we can use your skills, then you might be useful and we can employ you. If not, then you go sit in that box over there and we'll medicate you and we'll medicate the ESP out of you. I'm not being negative. I'm just rationally looking at the emergence and I'm saying, hold on, this neurodivergent box was not created by people like us. And I don't trust the origin of it. I don't trust why it was created. I don't trust 5 sense individuals to understand what they're looking at here. You know, something came up on my feed the other day. It was yet another movie about someone who was she was a psychometrist. She could move things around. And they created this whole thriller about. But do you notice how if we ever turn up in movies, it's usually horror or thriller or sci-fi or something, whereas the Sixth Sense, they suspected this child was a sociopath. But there's never been an indigo who is a sociopath that I know of. ever. This is not a real thing. Again, it's more fear mongering of us and them. So Hollywood set it up. All of those movies about, people developing special talents. And what are those special talents going to be? Oh, lasers out of your eyeballs, or yeah, because that's what the world needs, right? Some lasers out of eyeballs. Oh my word! And here we are, this community of beautiful souls, just striving to find themselves a space in a five-sense world and struggling with that. 1 in 20 of us makes it to 25, really? That's a crisis. That's a problem. We need others like us. We need more spiritually perceptive people to get into this field and to really do the work that the white coats either don't seem willing to do or isn't being funded by Big Pharma because we don't want to medicate everyone. So how do we self-accept? Where do we find self-acceptance when we're faced with this barrage of diagnosis? And that's where our self-isolation really serves us. Because long ago, I hope by now you've known to keep other people's opinions of you out of your experience. None of your business what they think. Your business is to be your best human experience, to be your best human being that you can be with all your skills and your talent. Use the tools. Keep focused on love because that keeps your frequency higher. I know people can be annoying, but we can figure out a way to love them anyway. With some people, it's really hard. You know what helps me? Because there are really some people that are difficult to love, hey? But throughout the different spiritual teachings of the world, there is this one theme that no matter what a person has done in their lives, no matter what they're doing now, anyone in any moment could shift in a heartbeat. They could turn themselves around and focus on source and regain their soul connection. It's a pretty common theme. So even when I look at someone and cannot find very much in that person that I want to pour love into, I always remember that within the human experience is this capacity to at any moment turn around and be source focused. It's not going to work in a judge and jury scenario. It's not going to work when we're talking about judging their actions. For sure not. Somebody much more noble than I would need to do that, or some bodies, a group of bodies. But in my days, I need to find a way to stay in love, to stay in the frequency of love, because that's where all the yay and the yummy is. That's where we find peace. That is where we live our best lives. And if we're beaming that frequency out there, then the frequency, the lower version frequencies coming at us don't even touch sides, right? So to find a way to love them anyway is a real skill, and it's one that I really encourage you to develop. That even if you look at them and say, right now, the human being that I'm seeing, the actions that I'm seeing, I can't find anything to love there. But I know that as a human being, you have spirit, you have a soul, and at any moment, you could step into the light. And so even if it's just to love that potential, perhaps that's what we need to hold on to sometimes. Not for them, for us, to keep ourselves in that frequency, to keep ourselves in the frequency of love. And here's my assurance. This is something I know. All of these boxes and these labels and Empath, HSP, Indigo, whatnot, we will reinvent all of that. We will redo this. I'm just using a placeholder label of spiritually perceptive because I think it covers all of us. But I think we're going to retill the soil. We're going to go back and figure out exactly what's going on here. And I think we'll do it together. I think the spiritually perceptive, the intuitive community will do it for us, not have it done to us. Because I think that would be just, and I think we would trust that. I think what we need to be wary of between now and then is rabbit hole. I've gone into in the past the idea that a lot of spiritually perceptive become addict because dealing with the world and the noise and the how is just too much. And so addiction is a survival tool that a lot of us harness. And please remember that rabbit holes can be a form of addiction. So what I'm more wary of with the ideas of chosen ones and archangels and alien whatnots is those become fodder for an addictive pathway that people get lost down those rabbit holes. If there is a piece of information, if there is something that brings you comfort, that makes you feel better in your present moment, then by all means, yay, bring that into experience. If, however, something is just a rabbit hole that is going to take you out of your present moment and not contribute to your present moment understanding of the world in any way, then just be careful of those. Those can be addictions that can take you out of your present moment. And you are beautiful in your present moment. You are glorious. You are on the leading edge of the evolution of humanity. And whether or not you understand it, you are loved. You are so deeply loved and supported, and you have it within you to harness all of that love and that support and manifest a beautiful life. All right, Indigo Roses, go off and have a beautiful day, night, whatever you are, wherever you are. And remember to love. Always. And remember that love is incomplete if it doesn't include your own sweet self.